Hello, everyone. Welcome to my research proposal presentation. My name is Robert Van Kuyk. I am seeking the completion of my master's in general psychology with an emphasis in life coaching. I've been developing this hypothetical proposal, a qualitative view of stress reduction and performance improvement within sport for some time, and I look forward to sharing it with you today. Whoops. My proposed study would focus on the benefit of mindfulness in collegiate sports. The main purpose of this exploration is to first build on the existing mindfulness knowledge. The field of mindfulness has much to offer, and I believe not all benefits of this practice have been discovered. Second, sports overall provide an interesting environment for the exploration of much more serious topics such as anxiety. Anxiety can be experienced by anyone. However, sports provide a safe environment for individuals to develop strategies to overcome that struggle. Because sports often reflect environments outside of itself, this study could potentially provide pathways to the development of generalized stress reduction strategies. Finally, this study will seek to increase general public awareness of mindfulness. Mindfulness is well known in academia, but is unknown elsewhere. This study will seek to leverage the popularity of sports to increase generalized awareness of the benefit of mindfulness trainings. Much like any academic venture, some specific terms need to be operationally defined to better understand the concepts presented in the findings. For this study, mindfulness is one such term. Mindfulness is a method of training certain aspects of our mind to become more resilient, attentive, positive, and generous. Often, mindfulness is described as meditation with a specific focus. As a practice, mindfulness is typically applied in the study of coaching, counseling, and/or psychotherapy as a method of increasing self-awareness and overall mental well-being. Ultimately, the reason for the implementation of mindfulness trainings will greatly depend on the circumstance of the practice they are being implemented in. My proposed research topic will specifically seek to leverage mindfulness within this field of collegiate sports. To do so, this research will ask, does mindfulness training help student athletes reduce sporting-related stress and anxiety, as well as increase performance in their selected sport? The implementation of mindfulness trainings within sports is an up-and-coming field and presents interesting potential for athletes and non-athletes alike. We predict this study will show that mindfulness trainings increase sporting performance and reduce anxiety levels among athletes. A plethora of studies have already been conducted to prove the correlation of mindfulness training and sporting performance. Not the least of these, Professors Lorenzo Calzado and Armin Keeble conducted a study titled "How Different Types of Meditation Can Enhance Athletic Performance Depending on Specific Sport Skill," which found that long-term engagement in mindfulness meditation has been found to be effective in achieving optimal athletic performance. Although promising, this study was limited as it simply determined meditation is likely to be beneficial rather than applying its benefits directly. Additionally, the study itself did not actually implement any training. Rather, it simply viewed existing mindfulness practices and determined that mindfulness is likely to increase sport performance. Recently, further studies have built on this foundation and have actually taken the next step and applied the findings of Calzado and Keeble. One such study, Megan Hutt and others' study, a randomized controlled study of mindfulness sport performance enhancement and psychological skills training within collegiate track and field athletes, found that athletes showed significant reductions in total sport anxiety and on subscales of worry and semantic anxiety. Although hugely influential in the application of mindfulness in sport, this study was limited as it only viewed one sport, track and field, rather than the broad application of mindfulness across a wide variety of sports. In all studies of mindfulness in relation to sport, some consistency can be found. For example, most studies have found that mindfulness is likely to benefit athletes in some way. Mindfulness likely has broad applicability in the world of athletics, and mindfulness application has yet to be successfully applied over a wide variety of sporting environments. My proposed study would mitigate the previous concerns of scope and application through the introduction of mindfulness training to a select group of athletes over a wide variety of sports. These athletes would likely consist of student athletes at Division I schools such as Grand Canyon University. To recruit these athletes, National Association of Sports Medicine, or NASM trainers, would go to their selected school to speak to these coaches of each sports team. These coaches would then be presented with the necessary informed consent to speak to their teams. This form would cover the expected benefits and potential harms of the study, Once the coaches are on board, NASM trainers would then speak to the athletes and allow them to reasonably consent to be a part of the study. Of course, both athletes and coaches would be presented with the potential benefits and harms of the study through an informed consent sheet. Some athletes will be placed in a group that will receive mindfulness training, and others will be placed in a non-treatment group. This will allow for a control group, which will help identify the change in anxiety and sports performance solely due to mindfulness training. Results of participants and non-participants will be used for comparison later and will allow for more valid results, as outside variables such as general athletic skill should be mitigated in some way. To measure the effect of the training, this study would find its results through the rate of change in measurable effect through the sporting season. Like the sporting season is likely to vary and would therefore need to be neutralized by some broadly applicable scale. For the purposes of this study, the measurements will be taken during quarters of each sporting season to determine a unit neutral comparison. To come to statistically significant conclusions, the proposed participants would consist of 571 student athletes, 294 men and 277 women from various Grand Canyon University D1 sports, 20 NASM certified mindfulness trainers, and one aggregator of data, likely to be myself. The 571 student athletes will be split into groups roughly equal in size, one group of participants, the other of non-participants. To measure the effect of trainings, mindfulness trainers would start by gathering informed consent, then conducting baseline measurements, followed by the implementation of mindfulness trainings per quarter. These measurements would consist of demographic information, a baseline level of the scales presented, as well as sporting specific statistics. The effect of mindfulness training would be measured by comparing baseline measurements to post-training measurements of the following scales. Short dispositional flow scale, or SDSF-2, which is designed to assess from 1, never, to 5, always, the sporting flow and athlete experiences pre and post mindfulness training. Sport anxiety scale 2, or SAS-2, which is designed to assess from 1, not at all, to 4, very much, an athlete's sporting specific anxiety pre and post mindfulness training. Mindfulness Inventory for Sports, or MIS, which is designed to assess from 1, not at all, to 6, very much, an athlete's mindfulness during sport performance pre and post mindfulness training. Sport Rating Form, or SRF, which is designed to assess from 1, very poor, to 9, excellent, an athlete's sporting satisfaction pre and post mindfulness training. Additionally, relevant statistical analysis will be gathered to view the improvement of sporting performance. For example, shooting percentage for basketball, batting average for baseball, or lap time for swimming. In order to properly identify change in these rates, 2 separate tests must be conducted for sporting and stress reduction scales. A MANOVA test would be utilized. This will allow for the study to be identified, for the study to identify the change of each scale in the correlation with one another, as well as the testing their effect on the dependent variable sporting anxiety. A t-test will also be conducted on the relevant sporting statistics, as this will allow for statistical significance or lack thereof to be shown in this change of statistics due to mindfulness trainings over the sporting season. Since each specific sporting statistic is likely to change dependent on sport, a unit neutral measure will need to be taken. To do so, each athlete will be asked to identify an end-of-season improvement they wish to reach. Then the data will be recorded as a percentage of that overall goal. For example, a baseball athlete may identify their goal to be an improvement of a 2.45 batting average to a 2.75 batting average by season's end. Statistics will then be gathered each quarter and converted into percentage of change towards the end of season goal. Since the data will be split into fourths, the baseline will be 25% towards the goal each quarter. This consistent measure will allow for comparison of not only participants in the mindfulness practice, but non-participants as well over the wide variety of sports we wish to analyze. The data collected will show the participants within the mindfulness training group experience significant improvement of SDSF-2, SRF, and MIS, while showing a decrease in SAS-2. That would go ahead and prove that they are both experiencing more mindfulness within sports, better performance, as well as more reduced anxiety. This study predicts that non-participants will also show an improvement in these categories. However, this improvement would likely be inconsistent and less pronounced than those in the participant group. The data collected will also show that participants and non-participants alike will make progress through their selected statistical goal within the season. Participants should show a greater improvement towards the goal, while it is expected that some non-participants will not reach their goals by the end of the season. As such, the data will show a consistent climb in achievement in both participant and non-participant groups, but participants should show a greater success rate of said achievement than non-participants. Since this study will focus on student athletes, future research will likely build on the potential of mindfulness implementation into professional sports. Some professional organizations already implement these techniques. However, this study would point to the exploration of its benefit in those arenas beyond what is currently applied. It may also encourage additional exploration of the topic as a whole, especially in relation to strategies of overcoming anxiety. After all, research already suggests mindfulness may improve general well-being, not just an improvement of sporting performance. Therefore, the evidence provided by this study would likely break the dam wide open, allowing for the broad implementation of mindfulness as a whole. In conclusion, the proposed study would be beneficial as mindfulness is an upcoming field in need of further research. Sports provide an intriguing environment for mindfulness trainings and their implementation, and the study may open the possibility of further implementation of mindfulness into other arenas of practice, such as counseling or psychotherapy. Even though these fields implement mindfulness in some areas, the proposed research would likely increase, or rather increase the likelihood of its overall implementation in the practice, as sports are extremely popular, and any improvement in those fields may very well lead to implementation elsewhere. Alrighty, I really appreciate all the time that you've spent with me. I look forward to the feedback and hope you have a great rest of your day.